Have you ever taken the Enneagram personality test? You should, and you'll find out why here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So be there, be square. We're always here at 11 a.m. So I hope to see you Monday through Friday. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page. So thank you guys for being here today, as well as over on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, we do put it on replay over here on Instagram. It goes right up on IGTV as soon as this is over, so go check it out there. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. If you type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. By the way, today on Thursday on YouTube, I do have a bonus episode for you, so you can actually see a bonus episode today. It's my interview for Real Talk. Today I have a guy named Dr. Paul Ralston, and we went into all kinds of subjects, you guys. So if you're ever interested in like a variety of subjects kind of podcast, that's what we try to do on Real Talk. We get into how we become desensitized by death, how some of the COVID stuff. And at the very end, he talks about screen addiction, how we're all addicted to these screens. As I talk to you on 3 different screens at the same time, so he gives a great lecture at the end of that as well. So go check out that Jimmy Rants bonus episode, Dr. Paul Ralston, over on YouTube as soon as you're done with Jimmy Rants here today. And then finally, pop on over to JimmyRants.com. It is the official website for the show. You can see all the past episodes while you're there. And we have some perks for people who support my work. So over on Patreon, if you click on the Patreon link and give a donation of any amount, we actually put up early access to the next week's podcast. Well, they're already up. If you are a Patreon, go and subscribe now. Well, not right now, when you're done here. And you will actually be able to see the videos of next week's podcast already. Some really good ones up there. I can't wait to share next week. You can also make a one-time donation through PayPal. And all of those links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. Okay, today I have a very special Jimmy Rants for you, because do you ever wonder what makes you tick? You ever wonder why you have specific quirks and personality traits and things that make you you? Like, I've always, throughout my life, known that I had tendencies. And you know that too. You go through your life and you're like, wow, that's kind of weird. Doesn't everybody think this way? And then you learn, no, not everybody does think that way. And you go, well, I wonder why I think that way. And, you know, there's a lot of online tools that are out there that people say, well, you can learn your personality type. The funniest ones to me are like Facebook, where they're like, find out what your personality type is, and the famous actor that you most resemble personality-wise. So you do all this kind of gobbledygook kind of pop culture answering of questions, and then they say, oh, you're Tom Cruise. And no, I don't want to be Tom Cruise, but thanks for playing. So people kind of go through those little silly ones. But did you know there are actually really good, scientifically sound tests that you can have run? And I've had several friends of mine over the years tell me about the one I'm going to share with you today, Biohacking Mama, who is Dr. John Lemansky's wife, Jen. I used to do a podcast with Dr. Lemansky called the Keto Hacking MD podcast, and Jen said, hey, have you ever taken your Enneagram? And I was like, my what? And she said, oh yeah, Enneagram, it kind of goes really deep into who you are as a person, and da-da-da. And she gave me a link to take it, and it was one of the links to a poorer version of it. It wasn't until my friend Brittany, who is on here right now, hello Brittany, who sent me the link to the extended form of the test, and it's from this website, eclecticenergies.com. I put a link to it in my stories today on Instagram. So those of you not on Instagram, I will give you the URL here in a minute, but if you're on Instagram, when you're done here, just go to my stories and you'll see the post that I wrote about Enneagram, and it's got a swipe up feature for you to take this particular version. Eclectic Energies, ECLECTICENERGIES.com/Enneagram, ENNEAGRAM/test. So go take that test, guys. 40 questions, and it's basically, what do you believe about those questions? And I'll let it speak for itself, because the questions go pretty deep into who you are philosophically. And you just answer honestly. I mean, I guess you can manipulate the results to be whatever you want it to be, but be honest with yourself. If you have some tendency in your personality, answer it accurately. And for all of them, it's either agree, somewhat, or kind of in the middle, or disagree. So you got 3 options for the 40 questions. And I took this the other day after Brittany talked about it on her stories. And it's eye-opening. And this is so powerful, you guys, because when you take this test and you learn what your personality type is, it might make you have a little clearer picture of your worldview and why you believe the way you do, why you act the way you do, why you feel the way you do. Guys, this is powerful. Now, some people are like, okay, personality test, what is that, like a horoscope? And I'm a Capricorn, so I have tendencies. No, it is nothing like that. Let me tell you, this is probably going to be life-changing for some of you. And as I started doing research on my particular type, which I have printout of my specific type that I will explain later in the show today. First, I'm going to give you an overview of Enneagram and what the different types are. But when I get to mine, you guys see me daily on Jimmy Rants. You can probably guess what some of mine are just based on what you observe. But the Enneagram actually pointed it out, and I'm really happy to be sharing this here today. So if you're just joining us, we are talking about this concept known as an Enneagram. And it's a personality type test. You get it run, you find out your number, you find out like what your wing is, which we'll explain that in a second. And it really explains a lot about who you are as a person. And I'm excited to share this with you. And again, thank you to my friend Brittany for bringing this on my radar screen, telling me about the eclecticenergies.com version of this test. And it's really, really fascinating. Okay. So let's get into the introduction of what the Enneagram is. The Enneagram is a personality typing system that consists of 9 different types. Every one is considered to be one single type, although you can certainly have traits that belong to others as well. While it's uncertain whether this type is genetically predetermined or whether it's at place in birth. The 9 types, or Enneatypes, Ennea meaning 9, are universally identified by the numbers 1 through 9. These numbers have a standard way of being placed around the Enneagram symbol. Enneagram authors have attached their own individual names to the numbers. And on this side, again, this is reading from eclecticenergies.com. The type names were by the authors Riso and Hudson, who have written extensively about Enneagrams. So, number 1s, you are known as the reformer. I see my friend Brittany said type 1 over here. She's a reformer, and we'll explain that in a minute. Number 2, if you are Enneagram type number 2, you're the helper. Number 3, Enneagram type is the achiever. That's me. We'll explain that in a minute. Number 4, the individualist. Number 5, the investigator. Number 6, the loyalist. Number 7, the enthusiast. And number 8, the challenger. Finally, number 9, the peacemaker. So you might hear those names of the descriptions of what they are and already kind of guess what you think you might be. Take the test, though, and find out for sure what you are. And then that way you know. People of a particular type have several characteristics in common, but they can be quite different nevertheless. It depends upon other things like your level of mental health. So if your mental health's a little bit off, which for some people it is, it can actually mess with this system. But the generality of who you are and your personality type is dictated by what that Enneagram number says you are. Unhealthy people they describe here as neurotic from a particular type can actually look quite differently from healthy ones. So again, we're talking in general with all these things I'm going to talk about here today about healthy mentally people. All right, so there is this notion that you have a main type, so your Enneagram number, and then you have this thing called a wing. So usually one has characteristics of one of the types that lie adjacent to their own that is more prominent. So the main number is the main number, but then you have a wing number, which shows you have expression of other characteristics from another one of the numbers. This is called the wing. So someone who is a type 5 may have a 4 wing or a 6 wing. This would be abbreviated to 5W4 and 5W6. If one does not have a dominant wing, it is said the wings are completely balanced. So Brittany says she's a 1 Enneagram with a wing 2. I am a 3 Enneagram with a wing 2. So we'll get to what that means here in just a minute. And again, if you're just joining us, yes, we're talking Enneagrams today. If you've never heard of this before, pay close attention because I think this is a game changer, a life changer for so many people. Maybe you've gone through your life and you feel so misunderstood by yourself, by people in your life. You just don't know. Carolina Wildman says, I'm a type 2 wing 3. So you're just the opposite of me, Wildman. I'm a 3 wing 2, you're a 2 wing 3. So I guess we're pretty similar. And I'm not surprised because we are pretty similar in personality just from what I know about you. So we're going to go over why you need to know what your Enneagram type number is. And we're going to find out why. All right, so let's look at those 9 different Enneagram type and we're going to get a further description. Type 1, the reformer. This is you, Brittany. They are perfectionists. They're very responsible. And they're fixated constantly on improvement. Ones are essentially looking to make things better in life as they think nothing is ever good enough. Those people frustrate me. Brittany, I love you, but damn, sometimes I'm like, okay, let it go. It's good. It's good. Doesn't have to keep being refined to be better. It's good. It's good. But your brain doesn't let you do that. This makes you a perfectionist who constantly wants to reform and improve, who desire to make order out of the omnipresent chaos. They're also the ones that I think want peace. Now, the peacemakers are down the line a little bit, but when you want to bring order out of chaos, and you're constantly down on yourself because you're trying to constantly make things better and better and better, when you know what? Good enough is good enough. And Brittany's husband says, agreed about Brittany. Yes. See, and that's the fun thing, but you know that about her. So that's kind of the fun thing, Wildman, is you know that's how she tends to be. And so you're understanding that that's just your girl. That's how she is. All right, type 2. And this one is the helper. Helpers who need to be needed. A 2 essentially feels that they are worthy insofar as helpful as they are to others. Love is their highest ideal. Selflessness is their duty. These sound like pretty cool people, right? Giving to others is their reason for being. Involved, socially aware, usually extroverted, 2s are the type of people who remember everybody's birthday. They go the extra mile to help out a coworker, spouse, or a friend in need. So we know a lot of people like this, don't you? The helpers. They get their worth from helping other people. And my wing is a 2. So it's not my dominant one, but it was right behind it. I think when I looked at the score, my Enneagram 3 was a 20, And my Enneagram 2, which was the helper, was a 17. So it was pretty high up there. And so helpers, that's number 2. Number 3 Enneagram is the achiever. This is my primary one. See if it sounds familiar. They're focused on the presentation of success in order to attain validation. 3s need to be validated in order to feel worthy. They pursue success and they want to be admired by other people. They are frequently very hardworking, competitive. Ask Brittany if I'm competitive on Words with Friends. I will crush you. I play my mama in Words with Friends, and I beat her by about 200 to 300 points every time. It's like, I know she's my mom, but I want to crush her hard in Words with Friends. It's that competitive spirit within me. Can't help myself. I have to do it. And if you beat me in Words with Friends, then you really beat me because I played you hard. They're highly focused in their pursuit of goals. Whether their goal is to be the most successful salesman in the company or the sexiest woman in their social circle. I don't want to be the sexiest woman in my social circle. I'll save that for another day. But and yes, Brittany, you have beaten me a couple times. So in Words with Friends. But yeah, I mean, the achiever, these are the go-getters. This is the people who are out there trying to change the world. And sometimes it's a good thing, but sometimes it's a bad thing. And I'm going to get into mine here in a minute with the 3W2, what it means in the real world. And you're going to see how applicable this actually is for me. And you're going to find yourself fascinated by this as well. Okay, number 4, the Individualist. This is the number 4 Enneagram type. Identity seekers who feel unique and different. Fours build their identities around their perception of themselves as being somehow different or unique from the rest of the world. They are thus self-consciously very highly individualistic. They tend to see their difference from others as being a gift and a curse. The gift is because it sets them apart from who they perceive as being somehow common, and a curse as it so often seems to separate them from the simpler forms of happiness that others so readily seem to enjoy. We know these people. And by the way, I love 4s. If you're quirky and you're different, you're unique, you stand out to me. I know some people like the normalcy of normal and blah. No, not me. I tend to like people that are a little bit off kilter. I don't know why. I like those people because I see something pretty cool in them. But we all know people like that, highly individual and seemingly unique from the others. Brittany says 4s tend to be very emotionally charged. Well, probably from frustration of that curse part of being a 4. They want to be part of a crowd and they want to fit in and they don't fit in. And so when you don't fit in, I'm sure that plays havoc on your head. And then you add that someone is a 4 and they have a little bit of kind of mental health problems, and it probably exacerbates that too. Type 5 Enneagram, the investigator. These are the thinkers who tend to withdraw and observe the world around them. 5s essentially fear that they don't have enough inner strength to face life. So what do? They withdraw away, retreat into safety and security in their mind, where they can mentally prepare for the emergence into the world. People who are 5 Enneagram feel comfortable and at home in the realm of thought. They are generally highly intelligent, well-read, and thoughtful, and they frequently become an expert in the areas that capture their interest. I bet a lot of people who get into the sciences, the research realm, end up being Enneagram 5s because that's what they do. They're highly intelligent, they're well-read, they're thoughtful, they become experts at some field of interest because they back away and they don't like conflict, they stay in the background. These are just the opposite of one of the earlier Enneagrams Just the opposite of like the achiever. The achiever is out there in front. Hey, how you doing? That's the 3. But the 5s, no, they want to back away. They don't want to be seen. They're the investigators. They're looking into things. Number 6, type 6, is the loyalist. Now, we like the loyalist. Sometimes. Conflicted between trust and distrust. 6s essentially always feel insecure. Maybe we don't like the 6s. As though there is nothing quite steady enough to hold on to. You guys know people like that in your life. At the core of the type 6 personality is a kind of fear and anxiety on a perpetual level. 6s don't trust people or anything very easily. They are often ambivalent about other people, a little bit self-centered, maybe narcissistic, until the person has absolutely proven themselves to this loyalist, at which point they are likely to respond with steadfast loyalty. So they don't trust you until they do trust you, and then they never stop trusting you. So that's an interesting dynamic. Can you get into the inner circle of a loyalist, a type 6, long enough to prove your trustworthiness so that then they become highly loyal to you? That's interesting, right? Type 7 is the enthusiast, pleasure seekers and planners in search of distraction. 7s are essentially concerned that their lives will be an exciting adventure. We know a lot of people like that. They are future-oriented, restless people who are generally convinced that something better is always around the corner. They're quick thinkers who have a great deal of energy, who make lots of plans. They tend to be highly extroverted, multi-talented, creative, and open-minded. Pleasure seekers and planners. That's the enthusiast. They're good for a fling relationship of some sort, I suppose, but are they someone you can be grounded with? I suppose, if you like that kind of thing, but it's interesting. My friend Brittany says her oldest daughter, Cammie, is a 7. I believe that. Number 8, type 8 of this Enneagram is the challenger. Taking charge because they don't want to be controlled. 8s are essentially unwilling to be controlled by anyone. Don't you tell me what to do. I'm the boss. Either by others or by their circumstances. I bet 2020 has frustrated the heck out of type 8s. They fully intend to be the master of their fate. 8s are strong-willed, decisive, practical, tough-minded, and energetic. They also tend to be quite domineering. Their unwillingness to be controlled by others frequently manifests in the need to control other people instead. Oh my gosh. Yesterday I did a Jamie Rants on the subject of gaslighting. I think it's probably a default that 8s are the biggest gaslighters. Brittany says they're hard asses. The tough personality, yeah. They put on a front. And what's funny is, it's just a front. Who they are in their heart is probably somebody totally different, but they put on the front that they're this tough guy. And then the last one is type 9 of the Enneagram, is the peacemaker. These are the people that like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. They don't want to buy the world a Coke, but they want peace and harmony in life. 9s essentially feel a need for having constant peace and harmony. They tend to avoid conflict at all costs, whether it be internal or interpersonal, as the potential for conflict in life is virtually ubiquitous. The 9's desire to avoid it generally results in a withdrawal from life, and many 9s are in fact highly introverted. Other 9s lead more active social lives, but nevertheless remain to some degree checked out, not fully involved, as if to insulate themselves from threats to their peace of mind. Again, 2020 has to be driving 9s crazy. 2020 is the year that 9s got off of social media because there's so much conflict and their brain can't handle that. And it's tough. All right, so that is the general 9 categories. Let's see what the time is. Oh yeah, I got plenty of time. So let me get into a little bit about how this works, because you're going to take this test, and if you joined us very late, we're talking about this personality test known as an Enneagram. My friend Brittany over here, becoming.Brittany Lee over on Instagram, actually brought to my attention the really good version of this test is at eclecticenergies.com. So go look it up. Take the test for yourself. It's 40 questions. You say agree, disagree, or somewhere in between. And when you're done with that, it spits out what your Enneagram dominant number is and then what your wing is. So I was a 3W2, which at the end of the show here, I will go over what that manifests as. You can, once you find out your Enneagram type and your wing, you can actually go Google using those letters and find all kinds of information about what that means for you. But let's learn how this works. This explanation covers the basics that you'll need to understand how it works, the Enneagram, and will especially be helpful for all beginners. Only a few simple concepts are needed to begin this journey of self-discovery. It is ultimately subtle and complex, but as complex as it is, it actually gives you good information. It looks highly complicated, although it's actually very, very simple. It will help you understand the Enneagram if you sketch it yourself. So draw a circle, mark 9 equidistant points on a circumference, designate each point by a number from 1 to 9 with 9 at the top for symmetry and by convention. Each point represents one of the 9 basic personality types. There is what it looks like. I'm going to go close on everybody's screen so you can see it, but that's basically the Enneagram. And so the 9 points are also connected with each other by inner lives of the Enneagram. Note that points 3, 6, and 9 form a triangle. The remaining 6 points are connected. 1 connects with 4, 4 with 2, 2 with 8, 8 with 5, 5 with 7, and 7 with 1. These 6 points form an irregular hexagram, and the meaning of these inner lines will be discussed in a minute. So, from one point of view, the Enneagram can be seen as a set of 9 different personality types, each number on the Enneagram denoting one type. It is common to find a little bit of yourself. So, and maybe when I was reading the descriptions, you're like, well, wait a minute. If I come out with a 3, but I show traits from 8, does that mean I'm really an 8? No, stick with it. It's common to find a little of yourself in all of the types, although one of them will be the closest to who you are. That is your basic personality type. That's why I'm a 3 as my dominant personality type, because that's what's most prominent. Think of it in the form of nutritional health. When you are in a state of ketosis, you're not just burning ketones. It's the predominant fuel source in your body. You're also burning glucose at the same time. People don't think about this with keto. Oh, I'm burning just ketones. No, you're not. You're burning both ketones and glucose. But what's the predominant? It's the ketones. So the same with the Enneagram. What's the predominant? What's the majority personality? Your basic personality type is what that Enneagram number is. That makes sense? So everyone emerges from childhood with one of 9 types dominating their personality, inborn temperament and other prenatal factors being the main determinants of our type. This is one area where most all of the major Enneagrams agree. We are born having a dominant type. Subsequently, this inborn orientation largely determines the ways in which we adapt to our environment. It also seems to lead to certain unconscious orientations toward parental and other authority figures, but why this is so, they don't know. In any case, by the time children are 4 or 5 years old, their consciousness is developed sufficiently enough to have a separate sense of self. Although their identity is still quite fluid at that age, children begin to establish themselves and then find ways of fitting into the world on their own. And again, this personality type is going to help dictate what that is. And those of you that have kids, you know, around that 5-year-old mark, they start to take a turn and it shifts. It probably happens even sooner than that in some certain kids. My friend Brittany says Alma is still coming into her own, but I'm leaning towards she's probably a 1 or a 2. And yeah, she's still under that 5. So it'll be interesting as she keeps getting older what she turns into. Thus, the overall orientation of our personality reflects the totality of all childhood factors, including the genetics, that influence its development. So several more points need to be made about your basic type. You do not change from one basic personality type to another. Once you figure out what's your basic personality type, again, for me, it was the 3. Once you find that out, that's what you are. You almost have to look at it like a genetic marker. So in your lipid panel, there's this thing called an ApoE genotype. So ApoE genotype, I'm a 3-3. It's kind of a cardiovascular marker. And once you find out what you are with your ApoE genotype, you never have to run that blood test ever again. Think of the Enneagram in the same way. Once you run and get your test results from of what your Enneagram number is, you don't really have to run it again because that's what it is. So it doesn't change. Number 2, the descriptions of the personality types are universal and apply equally to males and females, since no type is inherently masculine or feminine. This is so critical because you're like, well, women tend to be more than guys tend to be. No, has nothing to do in the Enneagram. Number 3, not everything in the description of your basic type will always apply to you all the time because you will fluctuate constantly amongst the healthy, average, and unhealthy traits that make up your personality type. And this is kind of the monkey wrench in the Enneagram. As you teeter with your mental health, maybe it shifts some of these personality types and traits being expressed. So know that the basic kind of things that we went over are of someone who's stable of mind and generally in good mental health. Once you have some mental health things going on, it can shift the expression of that personality type. Number 4, the Enneagram uses numbers to designate each of the types because numbers are value neutral. They imply the whole range of attitudes and behaviors of each type without specifying anything that's good or bad. In all that description of what I shared earlier, there was nothing about things being good or bad. It's just what is. So keep that in mind as well. Unlike the labels used in psychiatry, numbers provide an unbiased shorthand way of indicating a lot about a person without having to be a pejorative. Although sometimes the order of the numbers, well, I'm a 9, so I must be 7 levels better than a 2. No, it doesn't work that way. They're all on equal playing field. They just are what they are. So the numerical rankings of the types is not significant. No type is inherently better or worse than any other as well. Sometimes you think, well, wow, I wish I was a 7 because 7s tend to be a lot better than 1s and da-da-da. And no, don't do that. Don't compare. It's just like in your keto journey. If somebody loses 100 pounds, don't be jealous that they lost 100 pounds and you, quote, only lost 60. Celebrate who you are and what you are and what makes you unique. And same with the Enneagram. Celebrate who you are. You can't change it, so why would you bemoan it? Why would you be jealous? Why would you think someone is better or worse than you? Don't do that. While all personality types have unique assets and liabilities, some types are often considered to be much more desirable than others in any given culture or group. Think about the 2s. They're the helpers. They're highly desirable. Somebody wants to help, has a heart for wanting to help people and be there for them. That's a desirable trait, but it doesn't make them any better or worse than other types. Furthermore, for one reason or another, you may not be happy being a type. If you find out what your Enneagram is and you're like, holy crap, I don't like this, you can't really bemoan it because you can't change it. You may feel that your type has handicapped you in some way. As you learn more about all the types, you will see that just as each has unique capacities, each also has various limitations. If some types are more esteemed within westernized society than others, it is because of the qualities that society rewards, not because those people have any kind of superior value over you. The ideal is to become the very best self that you are, not to try to imitate others that are a different Enneagram number. Oh, man, we like the comparison game though, don't we? Oh, if I was only more like Tom, I could be so much better in life. No, you can't change that way who you are. And by the way, nor should you. Nor should you. Like, we are beautifully and wonderfully made, as the Bible says. And if we are, and we believe that, then we need to embrace who we are. I know I have quirks about me that are goofy to some people, and that's fine. I don't try to pretend to be something I'm not. My friend Rachel asked what the website is. eclecticenergies.com. eclecticenergies.com. And then once you're on there, there should be where you can scroll a little bit and it says Enneagram test. So click on that and it'll take you right to it, Rachel. All right. So as you think about your personality, which of the following 9 roles fit you best? So we went over what those are. And again, there's what the Enneagram looks like with the names of the different ones. I know it's backwards so you can't see it, but that way you could see how this point system works. So we don't need to go over those again. Let's see if there's anything else in here. I definitely want to get to mine. Oh, okay. Oh, here's some good stuff. All right. So, okay. So sometimes they can represent not just the 9 types, but actually their interaction. So did you see this? When you are an 8, 9, or 1, that's known as the instinctive center. So you're more the thinkers, the people that are kind of going through in your thought processes of analyzing things. The 2s, 3s, and 4s, which I'm a 3, so I'm right smack dab in the middle of that. You're the feeling center. You're the people that have a heart for other people, and it comes out in emotional responses. That's what 2, 3s, and 4s. If you're a 5, 6, or 7, you're the hard thinkers. You're the ones that are constantly thinking of things and being the more intellectual. So instinctive is kind of trusting your own inner thoughts and gut feelings. The feeling center, the people that have emotion and hearts and things for other people. And then the thinking center is the intellectual. So that's quite interesting when you think about it. So each type has a particular way of coping with the dominant emotion of its center. In the instinctive center, an 8 will act out their anger and instinctual energies. In other words, when 8s feel that their anger is building up, they immediately respond to it in some physical way. They raise their voice or they move more forcefully. Others can clearly see that 8s are angry because they give themselves permission to show it. Yep. 9s deny anger and instinctual energies as if to say, what anger? I'm not a person who gets angry. I'm not angry. 9s are the type most out of touch with their anger. These are the people that learn to hold things in. And that holding things in messes with them mentally and messes with them, their physical health as well. We know those people. Often feeling threatened by these feelings of anger and instinctual energy. Of course, 9s get angry like everybody else, but they try to stay out of the darker feelings by focusing on an idealization of their relationship. They're the ones that are out of touch with reality. If things are going haywire in their life and they're getting upset and angry about it, you wouldn't know it, and they're going to pretend like it's not happening. Yep. 1s, as my friend Brittany says, tend to internalize anger. They attempt to control or repress the anger and their instinctual energy. They feel they have to stay in complete control. That's you, Brittany. You always think you're in control and you're falling apart on the inside, but you don't want it. No, I'm holding it together. I have to stay in control, especially of their instinctual impulses and angry feelings at all times. They would like to direct those energies according to the dictates of their highly developed inner circle, the superego, the source of their strictures on themselves and others. Then let's get to the feelings. This is where your husband, Brittany, Wildman, Chris, this is where he is, and I'm in the 3. So 2s attempt to control their shame by getting other people to like them and to think of them as good people. They also want to convince themselves that they themselves are good, loving people by focusing on their positive feelings for others while repressing all the negative, such as anger and resentment at not being appreciated. As long as a 2 gets positive emotional response, they feel wanted and are able to feel or control those feelings of shame. All right, 3s. This is Jimmy Moore. 3s try to deny shame. They are potentially the most out of touch with underlying feelings of inadequacy. 3s learn to cope with shame by trying to become what they believe is a valuable, successful person. Thus, a 3 learns to perform well, to be acceptable, even outstanding, and are often driven relentlessly in their pursuit of success as a way of staving off all the feelings of shame and the fears of failure. Can I tell you? I wonder, and it's not in here, I'm just thinking out loud, and Brittany, help me out because you've been through this too. I wonder if childhood trauma shifts some of that. I know they said that once you're born and you kind of develop what that personality type is, that you're always that dominant type. But I wonder, does the childhood trauma, if you've been through some kind of a trauma or traumatic event or adverse childhood event or several, does that shift some of this? Does that make it where you express in a different way? I don't know. It'd be interesting for a discussion about that. 4s attempt to control their shame by focusing on how unique and special their particular talents, feelings, and personal characteristics are. 4s tend to highlight their individuality and creativity as a way of dealing with their shameful feelings, although 4s are the type most likely to succumb to having inadequate feelings. 4s also manage their shame by cultivating a rich, romantic fantasy life in which they do not have to deal with whatever in their life seems to be drab or uninteresting. Then we shift over to the thinking center. 5s, they have a fear about the outer world and about their capacity to cope with it. Thus, a 5 will cope with their fear by withdrawing from the world. 5s become secretive, isolated loners who use their minds to penetrate into the nature of the world. They hope that eventually, as they understand reality on their own terms, that they will be able to rejoin the world and participate in it, but they never feel they know enough to participate with total confidence. Instead, what they do, they involve themselves with much more increasingly complex inner worlds. I wonder if these are the people who dive into like fantasy video games and they get lost for hours. Be interesting to see. 6s exhibit the most fear of all the 3 types, largely experienced as anxiety, which causes them to be most out of touch with their own sense of inner knowing and confidence. Unlike 5s, a 6 has trouble trusting their mind, so they're constantly looking outside of themselves for something that can make them feel more sure of themselves. They might turn to career paths in philosophies, beliefs, relationships, jobs, savings, authorities, any combination of the above. But no matter how many security structures they create, they will always feel doubtful and anxious. They may even begin to doubt the very people and beliefs that they turn to for reassurance. 6s may also respond to their fear and anxiety by impulsively confronting it, defying their fear in the effort to be free of it. And then the last one is 7s. They have fear about their inner world. There are feelings of pain, loss, deprivation, general anxiety that 7s would like to stay clear of as much as possible. So to cope with these feelings, 7s keep their minds occupied with exciting possibilities and options as long as they can have something stimulating to anticipate. 7s feel they can distract themselves from their fears. In many cases, they do not stop merely at thinking about these options. As much as possible, they attempt to actually do as many of them as they can possibly do. They can be found staying on the go, pursuing one experience right after the other, keeping themselves entertained and engaged with all the activities and ideas. Pretty interesting. All right, they go into the wings, and basically with the wings, just know you have a dominant personality type, which is your primary number, and then you have a secondary one, which is kind of the next highest one. Like I said, when I took the test, my Enneagram score for the 3 was 20, but then the next highest one was 17, was a 2. So that makes me a 3W2. So the wing is 2. So there is a little bit of debate within the Enneagram circles of whether you're actually 2 numbers, or if you have a dominant and then you have a wing. So, you can debate about that. Let's just put it this way. When you take the test, you're going to get a dominant number, and if you have another one that's pretty high, it will make that your wing. If most everything else is balanced, then you will just be that one number. So I don't think that's anything worth worrying about. Okay, let's get to Jimmy Moore, because I am a 3W2. So I went online and I decided, okay, this was cool. Let's find out what that means. Let's translate it. And there's lots of places. If you type in Enneagram type and you put in your type, which this case I put 3W2, you're going to find all kind of websites. I found one called crystalknows.com. I don't know who Crystal is, but apparently she knows things. And we're going to find out what Crystal knows about what an Enneagram 3W2 is about. So, you ready? This is me. People who identify as an Enneagram type 3 with a 2 wing primarily identify as type 3s, but share some characteristics with type 2s. They tend to be ambitious, charming, enthusiastic. They are driven and they love to achieve things. They tend to adapt their attitude to their environment, which can make them very effective communicators. Does that describe somebody you know? Let's see. Driven and love to achieve. I wrote 7 books in 7 years. I'm driven to achieve, and I loved every minute of it. And I do think I'm a pretty good communicator. Pretty spot on so far. So what is the basic fear of a 3W2? Enneagram type 3 wing 2 are afraid of being a failure and being unworthy of being loved. They avoid this, listen to this, by setting and accomplishing goals in order to feel successful and worthy. So you kind of run from your problems. I did. When I went away on sabbatical last year, and all of my success that I was using to cover up some of those failings and unworthiness of love came out crashing hard. So you set a lot of goals. You set a lot of things to achieve and accomplish and to be in order to feel successful and worthy. Absolutely happened. And it wasn't until I stepped away that I saw it and I went, oh my gosh, how many years did I live life that way, thinking I was just a hard worker, I was just successful, blah, blah, blah. It was covering up these fears of failing and fears of not being worthy of love. So what's a basic desire of a 3W2? The basic desire is to be admired and to be accepted. They seek value through accomplishing things which may push them deeper into their work. This is shining a bright light on me today. So I don't mind being vulnerable. I always have been open to talking about this, but I did 6 podcasts last year. I will be the first to admit I'm a workaholic. And I'm a workaholic because I like the work and I like the admiration that comes from that work. It's true. It's really true. These people also tend to adjust their persona to their audience in order to feel as though they are easily liked, which may lead to playing a character rather than being themselves. Now, this is one area, as I was reading this, I read fake. Now, you guys know I'm not fake. What you see is what you get. The person you see on Jimmy Rants is the person I am in real life. I don't try to pretend to be something I'm not. But maybe when I'm on camera, or maybe when I'm doing work, there's a bit of a persona that comes across with the real. Like, I don't purposely do that, but it kind of has made me think about that. Okay, is this really me? I think it is, but again, I'm so close to it, I can't tell. I guess you could ask my really good friends if I'm any different off camera than I am on camera. I don't think I am. So again, remember, all of these traits don't necessarily apply to everyone, but it is a tendency that you have to be aware of. All right, so what are the strengths of a 3W2? Every personality archetype has strengths and blind spots, and these are often amplified in a professional setting, which is what you guys see me in a professional setting all the time, where we often encounter a diverse group of people with lots of different backgrounds and value systems and lots of different Enneagram types. That's the funny thing too. I would love to see a study that kind of looks at, all right, where is the most conflict in online comments where people get into arguments, and find out what their Enneagrams are. Do we see that 3s fight 9s? Do we see that 1s fight 4? Or like, what's the... Let's have a Facebook that's only for type 1s and 7s, you know, just because they get along. That would be an interesting kind of study. All right. What are the motivations of someone that's a 3W2? When people experience pain, distress, and dissatisfaction at work, it can usually be attributed to energy-draining activities. Therefore, it is important to know what kinds of activities will energize your type. So you can find out all of these things when you go look these things up. They have little links that you can click on, how you handle stress, what jobs serve you well. 3s with a wing 2, by the way, on a job, are often warm. They're highly driven people. They seek adventure and relationships with other people. Guys, I don't go willy-nilly. When I let you in my life, I go all in. And I'm your friend. I'm whatever I am to you. And that's just how I've always been. They love to serve in ways that allow them to lead. I love leading. They do well in environments that encourage their big dreams and utilize their interpersonal skills. This is why I became an entrepreneur. This is why I went to work for myself, because I felt like I wanted to do that, and it got me jazzed. And now I know it's because I'm an Enneagram 3W2. Is this fascinating? Did you enjoy this today? Was this kind of eye-opening? Have you ever kind of thought about this before, that maybe you could find out why you tick? To me, that was the most revealing part, the most eye-opening part, is it started to reveal things about myself that I kind of sort of knew, but until I saw it on paper and started reading through what these things meant, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I had no idea. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. We're going to come over here to Instagram first, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. See what you have to say about this one. Joshua says, this is so awesome. Yeah, I think it is. Is this everyone who is into alternative health? I'm trying to remember what the context of that one was. Keto Court says several different tests for this have given me different types, a 1-3. Yeah, and I mean, definitely try this one. I thought this one was pretty darn good. I've taken a couple of other Enneagram tests as well. I still got a 3 when I did those, and they were shorter tests. But do this longer one. Again, eclecticenergies.com/Enneagram/test, and you'll be able to take the test right there. Take it again with this one because it'll be interesting. But 1-3, yeah, I mean, it certainly could be helpful that you even know that. So that's cool. Brittany says, when I send my type 5 to her room, does not help because she loves it. The secluded. What was the type 5? See, I haven't memorized all these yet. What the one? Type 5 is the investigator. So yes, she goes and starts investigating. So, but sending my type 7 to her room is the worst ever The type 7 is the enthusiast. You take the adventurer away out of the adventurer, and they pitch fit. I'm not surprised, Brittany. I'm a gentle parenter, and I found the Enneagram to help so much. Yeah, that's my friend Brittany. Brittany said that when she was seeing clients, she did some life coaching, she would always have them take the Enneagram test so she could kind of know what she's getting herself into. Joshua says, I have to send this to my oldest to her sister's room, or I have to send my oldest to her sister's room. She loves coloring, but her stuff isn't in her sister's room. That's smart, dude. See, you know. Brittany says, be careful with the 2s in your life. So again, that's the helper. They are so willing to help. They feel underappreciated and easily can get used easily. I tiptoe lightly with my husband, who is a 2, because I never want him to feel used. Yeah, and if they are a 2 wing 3 or a 3 wing 2, not being appreciated is probably one of the worst things you can do for those personality types. And I know that myself. When I don't get appreciation for something I did for someone, it hurts. And you kind of want that. So yeah, being cognizant of other people's Enneagram definitely helps. Kelly says, I love this. I'm a 3W2. 3W2. And it has really helped me improve my life and realize life is not all about work. It's so hard though. Yeah, it is. Rachel says she is a 1W2. So you tend to be, Rachel, the reformer with expression of helper. So that's cool. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let's pop over here now over to my Facebook page. What's up, Facebook? See what you guys have to say. Dave says, you're always pushing me to learn more. I got to go look up Enneagram now. Well, that's kind of what I try to do on Jimmy Rants. There's nothing worse than there being a helpful tool out there that you didn't know about. So if I can bring it to your attention and it gives you benefit in your life, then I feel like I've done my job as an influencer. So thank you for that. And thank you, Facebook. Let's pop over here now to YouTube. See what you guys have to say. Hello. I'm going to love this one, says Shirley. I'm into personality types. Well, good. She said, I think I'm a 9. I can't remember which test I used. I'll have to check out this website you recommended. Yes, please do. I love all the variety of topics, Jimmy. Thank you, Deborah. I love giving variety. Shirley sounds like, or says, I sound like a 4. I definitely need to retake the test on a better site. Kim says, I don't agree. It doesn't change. I'm very different now than I was as a person. So you could be a different person, Kim. I don't think it means that you stay static all throughout your life as a person. But we're talking about the basic qualities of who you are. I obviously, at 48 years old, am a far different person than I was at, say, 1920. So I don't think you need to say, well, I've changed a lot over the years, so therefore my personality type has changed. No, your personality type's probably basically the same. It's just being expressed differently through your life experiences and things like that. Shirley says, I love this topic. 6 wing 5 here. I studied the Enneagram for a whole year. It exposed my deep subconscious motivations. For me, security is my deepest longing. My challenge is to trust and not fear. That's good you know that about yourself, Shirley. Or, Shelley, sorry. I have a Shirley on here and I have a Shelley on here, so Shirley is how it came out. Kim said if I had to guess, I would say I'm a 5-4. So don't guess. Take the test. And again, if you joined us very late, eclecticenergies.com, ECLECTICENERGIES.com/Enneagram, ENNEAGRAM/test. You take the test there. It's 40 questions. It's agree, disagree, or somewhere in the middle. And it will spit you out what your dominant Enneagram number is, along with what your wing is, if there is one. Since I was late, I'll rewatch. I took the test. I'm a 1 with balanced wings. Oh, that's interesting. And Brittany says, I'm exactly the same as Rachel. You two would probably get along then. Two of my friends on Jimmy Rants would definitely get along because you are the same. And I wonder, I hope we can parse out like who you can avoid if you have natural conflict with another person. Like if you're a one, who do you have conflict with of the other ones? If you're a two, who do you have conflict? And if we could determine that, you could almost say, okay, take the Enneagram test before we become friends. Could you use it with dating too? Like if you're gonna date somebody, it's like find out what they are. Like I'm just like thinking of all the possibilities of how this could be such a game-changing, life-changing experience for so many people. It might take you down paths that, but for knowing about the Enneagram, you wouldn't. Brittany said 8s tend to be harder for people that are 1. So the 1 is the reformer. The 8 is the challenger. Yeah. I bet. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Please, please, please take the test. Go check out what you are. If you want to write to me privately and tell me if this revealed anything to you, I would love to know. Like I said, thank you, Brittany. It had been on my radar screen from several other people before Brittany, but Brittany told me about the one from eclecticenergies.com, and it definitely opened my eyes to so many things. And now I'm just down the rabbit hole of learning more and more and more about what this means for me and how I express this in the best possible way. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me right here. I'm on Instagram at Living Low Carb Man, LivinLowCarbMan. Once you're there, engage live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Be there, be square. Thanks for being here today, Instagram. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here, as well as over on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay. Right after this is over, it's going right up on IGTV. We also put the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in the keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. We do have a bonus episode of Jimmy Rants over on YouTube today. My podcast Real Talk airs on Thursdays, and so my interview with Dr. Paul Ralston is up there right now. He's got a very special bonus lecture at the end of my interview. We added this lecture at the very end. It's got slides and everything all about screen addiction. So if you're concerned about that, definitely go check that out over on YouTube. And then finally, go to the official website for this show. It is at JimmyRants.com. While you're there, you can see all the past episodes there, but most importantly, you can show your support. If you like learning about things like Enneagrams and all the things that I cover here on Jimmy Rants, consider becoming a Patreon and support me with a monthly donation, or if you want to make a one-time donation, there's a PayPal link that you can do that as well. All of those links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. All right, guys, we're out of here for now. We'll be back again tomorrow, Friday. So it's Ask Me Anything tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll see you then.